playing the jigsaw puzzle game with Declan, really ideally what you want to do is actually have the first part of your jigsaw puzzle actually in place, not just in place, but you've actually come along and you've got to the stage where you add in the Mr. Mark softer, so as you know, at least this jigsaw puzzle piece here is, you know, sort of stuck down a little bit, enough so that you know it's not going to move. So when you sort of play around with the second piece, you know this first piece here isn't going to be moving. Not always do you have that ideal situation. I mean, sometimes you'll slide a piece on and it'll crack as you're sliding it on, and you've got to kind of put them both down. But you know, the principle's still the same. But you know, if you can sort of have it that one piece has started to be stuck down with the solutions, and then what we're going to do, right, is come in with our first little bit of a jigsaw puzzle here. We're just going to generally sort of place it down in position. Well, actually no, hold on, I did forget to add a bit of our setter first, right, because we need it to be able to slide around a bit. And what you might also want to do as well is a bit of water, which I've just got just here off camera, you know, mix a bit of that on as well, right, so you've got that kind of ability to sort of move this piece around, because you have got to sort of do some micro moving with it. And sorry if you're not quite on camera, but I just need both hands, I can't really lift the model. I'm just going to slide that on sort of in that general sort of position there, and then what you want to do is with a good old pin vise, fingers crossed it'll move, which it's having a bit of trouble moving. I have found actually with these decals that I can come in with some tweezers and we can like give it a little bit of a pull like so. It just saves you kind of tearing it with the sewing needle. And then basically all you want to do is do those micro movements. Now hopefully you might be able to see, maybe see how far we can bring you in. Just here, this is where our little join is, just there. The thing is, I did cut it right down the middle. Remember I mentioned about what looks white on the decal film is actually see-through decal. Well, right down the middle, right there where the sewing needle is, maybe if I get you at this angle, right here, that is where the cut is, which is on a nice clear piece. So I've got plenty of maneuverability to sort of get that in just right, and it is basically right there now. Apart from the back needs to come up, it's not quite up. There we go, slight bit of manoeuvring. Right, and we've played that nice jigsaw puzzle game, really taking advantage of the fact that those clear bits in this piece, we've cut that down the middle, so we've got that place, so we don't actually have to get this so accurately in position, because we know we'll join it up to another clear piece of decal film, so you can sort of get away with that. But really, even if it wasn't, we are plain and simply just micro managing it, just getting it in position, lining it up nicely. If you find that the piece of if you do find that if this piece of decal is starting to stick, right, what I tend to do, right, is I'll get the water out, right, because water won't stick it to the model, paint it on top, even a little bit tricky, takes a bit of experience, but I kind of get my brush and just come at the back here, right, just come at the back here, try and get it under, and once you've got it under, you can sort of run that along underneath that decal film, and that basically releases it from being so sticky as well, and then you can start maneuvering it again like I'm just doing here and getting it in position. But if you keep on adding water, you know, maybe even get under like I just showed you there with the brush, you can basically keep playing around with this until you're absolutely happy. And I'm happy that that is nicely in position now, as you can see, looking pretty good. And then we can follow the whole procedure of getting that stuck down. So here she is, all nicely done, all nicely deckled. Well, I wouldn't say nicely, but you know, close enough. Hopefully, as you can see, with all these decals on now, this really does take some really nice shape. It's one of these things. It's taken an old kit, as we've already discussed, and by wrapping all these decals around, it actually does make it look rather cool. Let's bring it in close on the top cam. But as I say, the decal's a bit horrible, so we've really got to put a lot of work into it, and it did take quite a long time. And if you are actually attempting to do this, you'll know how much of a pain it is. And as you kind of do it all, and you know, you leave it and let it dry, you'll come back to it and you'll be constantly looking at it and going, oh, there's a bubble, there's a bubble. The bubbles are just like popping up absolutely everywhere, and you have to keep on popping them, reapplying the solutions and stuff. But you do eventually get there. Now the problem we have got is, we'll get to this later, but as you can see, these decals have cracked royally, an absolute pain just there. So we're gonna have to come in later on and do all sorts of stuff, like going off and, you know, finding the right color matches. So probably getting out probably loads of grays and stuff, painting them on some pieces and stuff, and try and find them. I'll find them all out for you so that you know what to use, but that's what I'll have to do later. But what we need to do after deckling now, the thing is, these deckling solutions that we've used have gone on here, they've dried on here, and you will notice that your whole model's really sticky, especially with this one, because we've had to put so much deckling solution down, because we've put so many decals down. It's really sticky. It's got all this solution on it, and you know what, any sort of spraying, weathering, painting we do after this, that deckling solution can react, right? So we're going to put a gloss coat on this in a bit to seal it all in, but the gloss coat might react and it might sort of act like a bit of oil to water sometimes. I mean, it doesn't happen all the time, but sometimes it does, and then you'll find that certain areas aren't actually protected when you think they am. So what we do here is we plain and simply do a quick cleanup stage. Now, as you'll notice, I've got a glove on because we are going to be spraying after this, and we want to be touching our model with like some rubber gloves so as we don't recontaminate, because we're cleaning this all up, and that's what we want to do, is recontaminate. So just got some water just here. I'm just dipping it in there very lightly, and then what we're going to do is plain and simply we just go off and we start in circles, just rubbing at this, right? And what we'll end up doing is removing any sort of deckling solutions that's on here. Also, you got stuff like hairs. Hairs are going to land on this, and with that deckling solution, it really sort of sticks them down, right? So this way we'll sort of rub them off as well, right? And hopefully, as you can see already, you know, we've got all sorts of, you know, it's kind of slightly discolored, going a little bit brown there. You know, we are wiping stuff off of this. Now, don't worry about rubbing at decals, right? As long as you have left this overnight, probably, do you know what, probably best just to leave it 2 days to make sure the decal has stuck down, it's dried, it's properly cured, right? Once that happens, the decal is pretty damn stuck down. I mean, you don't have to worry. These decking solutions really do stick them down, right? So me just rubbing at this, I've never had a decal sort of rub up that I haven't left to dry, right? If you don't leave it to dry, you could sort of rub them off, but basically this is it. You might want to sort of make sure you get into all the nooks and crannies. So I kind of like, you can use cotton wool buds, or I kind of like to fold a couple up so it's kind of thickish, and then I sort of dig my nail into there like so, and then I can sort of get into these corners and just rub in there. Or as I say, you know, cotton wool bud, just the same, because you know, the corners is probably where you're going to get caught out. The flat areas we can rub that out, but the corners is probably where you're going to get caught out, as I say. And actually the corners is where you really want to sort of do it, because we're going to gloss coat this, and actually the corners, recesses and stuff, that's probably where washes are going to go in. So if you don't, you know, get all those areas, I mean, potentially the washes could have a reaction or something. Doesn't happen very often. I mean, you know, this is just kind of like me being careful and stuff, but I have had in the past where I've glossed on, the gloss has separated because it's had a bit of a reaction, it's like all to water. Then I'll put a wash on, and the wash kind of sometimes can like eat into places. It's rare, but it's one of these things, you know, if you just make sure. Not only that, it's sort of like, you know, we've got hair stuck on here and everything, so it's always good to clean and whatnot before doing any spraying. So I'm going to go around all this and take my time sort of getting in all those corners, and then we will spray it.